Beautiful friends, we just pressed the Let's Go Live button. Let's make sure this stream is connecting all across the fruited plain of the interwebs. We're waiting to see if it's working. As you can see, we are in a new location, my friends, and so we are booting up the tubes everywhere to see if we're coming in loud and clear. Let me know if you can hear me in the chat, my friends. As you can see, we are here at AmFest, and it's our first go at setting up a booth on Media Row. Got a bunch of cords flying all over the place. We want to make sure that we're coming in loud and clear so you can hear us. We're also on the not official Wi-Fi. So we brought in some bootleg Wi-Fi, and we're going to see if this works. Loud and clear? It's working? Oh my goodness, that's incredible. Hey, all right, cool. So what's up, YouTube? What's going on, locals? As you can see, we got a change of scenery here. Let me give you guys a little bit of a tour. And audio, video's good? That's incredible. Hey, all right, great. What's up, Crash? Crash says 5x5 over on locals. That's tremendous news. All right, so as you can tell, also, my friends, we're an hour late today because we were checking in. We drove down from... So let me give you a little bit of a tour on around where we're at. So we got 2 cameras set up for today. So we're going to be here. Let me show you what the agenda looks like, man. The agenda is lit. So tpusa.com/agenda, I believe it is where it's at. Yes, it is. And let me show you this. Okay, so if you haven't gotten your tickets yet, this is where we're going to be for the next 4 days. And it's going to be amazing. So here is the agenda courtesy of TPUSA. And so just take a look at this thing. I mean, it's going to be wild. So starting tomorrow, it's going to be Thursday, December 19th. Everything's going to be starting to open up about noon. So about 12 o'clock, Media Row, that's where we'll be. We'll be opening up. We'll be a little bit later. Tomorrow will be probably 1 or 2 is when we'll get started. But the event doesn't actually start tomorrow until the evening. So then we're going to have Charlie Kirk. We're going to have a DJ. We're going to have Charlie Kirk coming out. Ben Shapiro's here tomorrow. And then tomorrow, Charlie Kirk is doing his podcast with Steve Bannon. So, I mean, it's going to be jamming tomorrow. Ben Carson's here. Walsh, Bannon, Trump Jr. is going to be speaking tomorrow. And then Tucker Carlson is going to be the main headliner at 8:15 tomorrow night. So Thursday. So if you're going to be here, it's going to be awesome. Then we're coming back on Friday, and there's going to be a bunch of breakout sessions in the morning. So Faith in Action, Permanent Infrastructure, talking about Pennsylvania, the mom vote. Shout out to the moms, man. We love our moms. Gen Z, Defending the American Dream. Shout out to the youth of America. Investors, why to invest in Turning Point. More breakouts about the 2024 results, blue collar conservatism, the story of how we left the left, and more. Then it's all breakouts until about 10:45. Then we start the day off tomorrow with Bible in 365 Q&A. Riley Gaines is coming in. That's going to be on Friday. Sorry, excuse me. Friday, we got Gorka, Freeman, Stone, Danica Patrick's going to be here. Sage Steele, Nicole Shanahan. Man, James O'Keefe is going to be here. His booth is right down the hall, right down the road. I got a second camera. I'll spin the camera around and show you what's happening. Then we've got Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna on Friday. Byron Donalds, Benny Johnson, shout out. Mike Johnson, who we're going to talk about today because of his spending bill. Michael Knowles, and then Charlie Kirk again doing his show. Now, Tim Pool's going to be doing his show also tomorrow night. And we'll be live streaming. We'll be in and out. They got college speed dating tomorrow for the students. Oh, my goodness. Can find the love of your life who's a conservative. That's incredible. So then we've got that. Then we'll also have on Saturday, I think that was on Saturday. That was on Friday. So Saturday is going to be lit too. Carrie Lake's going to be here. Lauren Boebert, Brandon Tatum. Schenck is going to be here. Gates, Scott Pressler. What's up, man? Brett Cooper is going to be here. She just left the Daily Wire. Jack Posobiec, shout out. Abe, Andy Biggs, and Glenn Beck will be rounding out the night. On Saturday, that closes up about 5 o'clock. And then we're waiting for Sunday because look who's coming in hot at 10:30 on Sunday. El Presidente, Trumpo, coming back 10:30 to 12 on Sunday. That's going to be a monster day. And so we'll be here. We'll be live streaming a bunch of stuff. So it's going to be awesome. And if you haven't gotten your tickets yet, you certainly can. As you can see, that's not what we wanted to do. You can grab your tickets and come and join in on the fun. Now, we're going to be in and out, so don't really know how this schedule is going to go, but we've got a lot of opportunity here, hopefully, to interview people, to maybe be interviewed. So we'll be kind of just probably letting the stream go and just kind of checking in and checking out. But we're excited about it. So I do have some business for us to attend to today. We've got some spending news. We've got some Liz Cheney news. Yesterday, we saw Liz Cheney's a criminal who should be in jail, and now she's freaking out about it, just going nuclear on this. We also heard from Luigi yesterday. Luigi Mangione got indicted out of New York. And so I've got that indictment. I've got that press conference with Alvin Bragg. And so we do have some fun stuff to get to today. And of course, we'll do that. But let me give you a quick tour. So I got a second camera set up, and this is what it looks like. This is what I'm looking at right now. And so over here on our left, let me just move this camera around. You can see on the left here, we're going to have a big veterans type of, wait, did that just go blank? Sorry. There it is. All right, I can't move the camera around too much, otherwise I'll blank everything out. But this is what we're seeing, and here, this is the other angle. So that's the light that's on me, and then it's just a huge row. It's huge, okay? There's people everywhere, and maybe we'll get a forklift or two coming in. You just heard the beep, maybe you just heard the forklift beep. So Pirate Wire down there. We've got Facts Over Feeling podcast. There's just a bunch of stuff down this direction. And so we're jamming, baby. We're jamming. It's going to be great. We're going to be here. We're going to see if we can get some interviews in, see if people want to come by and sit down right over here in this nice little chair. And we've already met some cool people. So it's going to be fun. Come check out AmFest. If you're not doing anything, if you're in Arizona, come check it out. And of course, we're creating a little watcher community over at watcherlodge.com. And so if you want to join us, and there's a chat that's taking place there. And so we'll be talking a lot about that. Also, watcherlodge.com. We're posting our PDFs and our show notes over there. So become a free member, watcherlodge.com, and join in on that fun. Now, let's start with some Liz Cheney business, because we had Liz Cheney stuff to talk about yesterday. She's not happy about it. But let's make sure we're still coming in. I was moving the camera around. Make sure you guys can hear me okay. How's everybody doing today? Liquid Rock, what's up? Villa Plot is here. Knox is here. Let's ride the forklift, baby. Yeah, that's right. Forklifts are driving all over the place. There's people walking around. You can see, checking everything out. So BH Williams, good to have you. Knox is here. What a lineup. I know, what a great opportunity, right? This is crazy. And it's huge. Like, we're tucked away like in this little back corner, but it's huge. There's all the big boys are out there, okay? They're like, put us little people back here. But there are some really, really, huge names here, so it's very cool. All right, now let's talk Liz Cheney, because we do have some business to attend to today. No drones here that we've seen yet thus far. No drones, but I'm sure there are some drones. I'm sure they're flying around here somewhere. All right, so let's talk Liz Cheney, man, because she's not happy about what we discovered yesterday. Liz Cheney goes nuclear. She's not happy that Barry Loudermilk and the Republicans released a report that says she's a criminal. She broke laws. She obstructed justice and suborned perjury in violation of U.S. code. And now, since the Republicans are calling out her criminality, she is now responding. She says she's furious, saying this is ridiculous. The Daily Beast had this story for us. The article says Liz Cheney goes nuclear over the GOP demand that she face a criminal probe. Now, a report on Tuesday that we read through yesterday, and it was shocking in its scope, I would say, and how bad Liz Cheney has broken the law. She obviously should be prosecuted, or at least investigated from our read on it. And there's still a lot left to be discovered. And even Barry Loudermilk said the same thing. They've been asking for letters from the FBI. They've been asking for letters from everybody. And even the J6 Select Committee themselves deleted a ton of evidence, admitted they did it. And we're looking for evidence in a batch of materials that have been deleted. Forklifts behind me. Maybe it's coming. All right, hopefully. All right, but here's the report. Now, here's the story. A report released on Tuesday by GOP leaders issued a harsh rebuke of the failures and the politicization, and recommended a criminal investigation into Liz Cheney. In the report, it said, Speaker Nancy Pelosi's multi-million-dollar select committee was a political weapon with a singular focus: to deceive the public into blaming Trump for for the violence on January 6th and tarnish the legacy of his presidency, which is what we read in the 128-page report. Now, in addition to recommending that the FBI open an investigation into Cheney's actions, the report also accused her of witness tampering, violation 18 U.S. Code 1512B, something we've referenced here many times, for being in touch with former White House aide and witness Cassidy Hutchinson. And that's not being in touch, okay? It wasn't being in touch. She was trying to manipulate her testimony to create a narrative that they did not have. Cassidy sat down twice and did 2 interviews. Never heard about a clavicle attack during those first 2 interviews. Then, 3rd and 4th interviews, all of a sudden, poof, here it comes. And they did those interviews in a much different fashion than those first interviews, especially that 4th interview where Liz Cheney just invited everybody out to have a little slumber party, and then they came out with this new story after the fact. But Liz, after this report came out, we read through it yesterday. I'd really encourage you to watch that if you missed it yesterday. Cheney came out, wasted no time in hitting back against Trump's conclusions, the report's conclusions, calling them lies while lashing out at Trump as a cruel and vindictive man. What, Liz? You manipulated Cassidy, who was represented by an attorney, to lie, to go prosecute Trump and go throw other people in prison. You've been the most vindictive person in modern memory. She says J6 showed Donald Trump for who he really is. What? No, somebody who just gave a speech like everyone else? He watched television and refused for hours to instruct his supporters to stand down and leave. And that's her dumb talking point. Okay, that he doesn't have to do that, by the way. That's not, you might disagree with that decision, but that is not consequential. It's not his supporters who were doing those things, by the way. And it was also something that the Capitol is in charge of. They're in charge of their own security. So they had already told Trump, we don't want your security there. Trump told Acting Secretary Christopher Miller, secure the location. They said, we're on it, sir. Didn't do it. So Trump has already done his due diligence. Nancy Pelosi made the admission that she was responsible for this. It's her building. Now, about the report that was spearheaded by Loudermilk, Cheney said it intentionally disregards the truth and the tremendous weight of the evidence. Now, instead, the lengthy report fabricates lies and defamatory allegations. Whoa! Are you going to sue, Liz? Why don't you sue then? Go ahead and sue him. In an attempt to cover up what Trump really did. Now, their allegations do not reflect a review of the actual evidence, which they deleted, and are a malicious and cowardly assault on the truth. No reputable lawyer, legislator, or judge would take this seriously. We'll see about that there, Liz. I don't know. If you're going to concoct 1512C charges to say that a bunch of J6ers obstructed government documents and then the Supreme Court throws that out, that is a much weaker case that all the courts entertained, all the prosecutors entertained, all the judges entertained in a corrupt fashion until the Supreme Court came back down and said that's not what the law says. You can't prosecute somebody for that. So we'll see now. Her conduct is much closer fit to 1512B. Tons of J6ers got prosecuted for 1512C, but now just go up one subsection to B and see what happens. Trump has suggested on numerous occasions that members of the J6 panel should go to jail. Well, if they broke the law, yeah, they should. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders over the weekend became one of the most senior Democratic leaders to suggest Biden should preemptively pardon members to protect them from legal prosecution by Trump. When asked about the preemptive pardons for committee members in a Sunday interview on Meet the Press, Sanders says, well, I think he might want to consider that very seriously. Man, can you imagine if he comes out Shifty, Pencil Neck, Cheney, Benny, Raskin, all of them getting pardons? When asked about the preemptive pardons, he said, well, I might want to consider that. The J6 committee, Kinzinger, Cheney getting those? We'll see. So Trump came out in response to the report. He said, Liz Cheney could be in a lot of trouble based on evidence obtained by the subcommittee. All right, we got a moving cart pause here. Moving cart pause. Moving cart pause. There you go. Moving cart. Got it. Now, Liz Cheney could be in a lot of trouble based on this evidence. And these violations should be investigated by the FBI. Thank you to Congressman Barry Loudermilk on a job well done. And that was from Newsmax by Greg Kelly. So Trump was also posting about Liz. And I'm not saying you target Liz illegally and like raid her house with an illegitimate prosecutor. That's not what we're saying. We're just saying point a legitimate prosecutor, and if he finds probable cause that she committed a crime in violation of 18 U.S. Code 1512B, then you can then get a search warrant and then raid her house. But make sure we have a legitimate prosecutor. Or not. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, they said that you don't even need a legitimate prosecutor. So I guess according to their standards, whatever, just to point me, I'll take care of it. So here is another clip on this one, on the Liz Cheney stuff. You saw this is Chris Murphy, a senator. He came out, said the following related to Liz.
Important remedy right now is for this not to be normalized. I read all the headlines about the Liz Cheney criminal referral yesterday, and almost every single one of them in mainstream media played this straight as if this was as if this was a normal, regular function of legislative power.
It was legitimate.
Instead of telling the truth, which is that this is made up out of thin air. There's not even a shred of a crime committed here. But if you read the headlines yesterday,
we did read it. It's over 100 pages, I think it was, of materials, and there's giant sections that articulate Liz Cheney's criminality. And Alyssa Farah and her text messages are in there. And Alyssa is saying, I'm communicating with Liz. And there was more. I mean, there was even more in there. There's more to the story because Liz ultimately was having phone calls with Cassidy Hutchinson while she had an attorney. And they knew she had an attorney and they were trying to manipulate her away. That's called obstruction. And Liz is not protected by congressional immunity. We've already seen a precedent on this, right? Senator Menendez, when you exploit your power, your position of power for your own self-interested gain, you're not immune from that. You can't bribe people. You can't obstruct witnesses and delete evidence.
You thought that Liz Cheney actually did something criminally wrong. And so as leaders, we can't accept that this is normal. As journalists, you can't accept that this is normal. The minute that we...
Everything Liz Cheney did was not normal. She created a committee that violated their own rules, and then they lied to the American people. This is an investigation of the scam. It's as normal as it gets.
Pretend that this is a normal exercise.
It's what Congress does. It's what the government does, is investigate themselves and say a bunch of stuff and not do anything. This happens all the time.
Of executive power is the day that people give up fighting. So we've got these nomination fights coming up on Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. We should fight as Democrats like democracy is on the important remedy.
All right, democracy, democracy, democracy. Are you still going with that line? It didn't work out for you during the election, and I don't think it's going to get any better if you just keep hammering it home. That is Liz Cheney and her people being very upset about this, and I want to see if Liz Cheney does move forward and file a defamation lawsuit. Let's see if she'll do it. She says this is not lawful and that it is defamatory. Well, file a lawsuit, Liz, and let's see what happens. I think you should be prosecuted, and I think there's enough evidence there to support an indictment. But we haven't conducted a full investigation yet. And so as soon as there is Kash Patel and Pam Bondi in charge, they can use the power of their office to open up legitimate investigations. And once they return a conclusion, we'll take it from there. Liz Cheney goes nuclear. This is just the beginning. And as you can tell, this is a pound the table. Okay, we talk a lot about pounding the law, pounding the facts, or pounding the table. She's pounding the table again. All right, there's some serious forklift activity going on back there. As you can hear, everyone's setting up. It's super fun. All right, so about the interim report, we'll continue to keep our eye on it. Liz Cheney, I'm sure, will have a lot more to say about this, especially when she's indicted. All right, so that was fun. All right, so now let's see what else is cooking. We got some Luigi Mangione updates, but we also got a spending bill update, and this is happening in real time. We got a forklift coming. Here it goes. Here it comes. Get ready. Get ready. Yes. Forklift power, baby. All right. So we got some good forklift activity. We always like, see some good forklifts. All right. And we're back. We're back. let's talk about this spending bill. Congress trying to cram through another one right during Christmas, as they usually do. And the president is not happy about it. Trump posted this along with Vice President-elect J.D. Vance, says, "The most foolish and inept thing ever done by congressional Republicans was allowing our country to hit the debt ceiling in 2025. It was a mistake and now is something that must be addressed." Now, meanwhile, Congress is considering a spending bill that would give sweetheart provisions to government censors and for Liz Cheney. Now, the bill would make it easier to hide the records of the corrupt J6 committee. Forklift break. Nice. The bill would make it easier to hide the records of the corrupt J6 committee, which attempted nothing and accomplished nothing for the American people and hid security failures that happened on that day. This bill would also give Congress a pay increase while many Americans are struggling this Christmas. Sick. Now, increasing the debt ceiling is not great, but we'd rather do it on Biden's watch. If Democrats won't cooperate on the debt ceiling now, what makes anyone think that they would do it in June during our administration? Let's have this debate now, and we should pass a streamlined spending bill that doesn't give Chuck Schumer and the Democrats everything they want. Republicans want to support our farmers, pay for disaster relief, and set our country up for success in 2025. The only way to do that is with a temporary funding bill without Democrat giveaways, combined with an increase in the debt ceiling. Anything else is a betrayal of our country. From the president and J.D. Vance speaking together. And that continues on, saying on X, increasing the debt ceiling is not great. Republicans must get smart and they must get tough. If Democrats threaten to shut down the government unless we give them everything they want, then call their bluff. It is Schumer and Biden who are holding up aid to our farmers and disaster relief. This chaos would not be happening if we had a real president, which we will, in 32 days. From President Trump. Nice statement posted here by J.D. Vance. So what does that mean? What are the Republicans going to do? Are they going to play ball? Well, maybe. Johnson weighs spending plan B. Now, there was a big stack of disgusting bills that they were going to try to pass through. And now Johnson is saying he might reverse on this. So this just dropped fresh out of the oven over from Politico, saying Speaker Mike Johnson and his leadership team is quietly discussing a plan B to fund the government amid conservative opposition and vocal criticism from incoming President Trump top ally Elon Musk. Oh, man. Elon has entered the game. The Louisiana Republican is discussing dropping $100 billion in disaster aid, plus other attachments, and instead passing, quote, a clean CR. Then dealing with the other issues in the new year, according to two Republicans. Now, in addition to the disaster aid, that would mean dropping $30 billion for farmers and a one-year extension of the farm bill, among other items, at least for now. Johnson has not made a final decision, but if he shifts strategies, it would be a boon for his right flank, which has railed publicly against the current spending bill and received a dormant threat to Johnson's speakership. Many of those conservatives don't typically support stopgap spending bills. Most of the additions to the bill were designed to appease other Republicans as well as Democrats. Now, some Republicans believe Musk's criticism encouraged even more House GOP members to abandon ship. Musk, who has been charged with cutting government spending, wrote on X that the spending bill, quote, shall not pass. He says should, but I was doing the Lord of the Rings thing. And that any lawmaker who votes for it deserves to be voted out in 2 years, and maybe they will. I think it's having an effect on some people, said Andy Biggs. Asked if Musk's tweets were moving votes, he says, yeah, I think it probably is. So Musk's decision to weigh in has frustrated some Republicans who have long viewed him as an ally. They're like, stay out of our business, Elon. You make us have to do things. They don't want to do these things. Like, crap, Elon's here. It's like dad's home. You know when you have a substitute teacher, you can get away with anything, and then the real teacher comes back, and you're like, oh, crap. We're going to, like, look at our papers again. Yeah, Elon's home. The GOP doesn't control all the levers of power until next year. And of course, therefore, is limited in its ability to write spending bills that the party favors. Some Republicans are already privately grumbling that Musk, while clearly a successful businessman, doesn't understand the ways of Washington, where spending bills must be bipartisan. Democrats would be less likely to lend their votes on a stopgap funding bill if their hard-won concessions like disaster aid, funding to repair the Francis Scott Key Bridge, and other provisions fell out of the package. But some purple district Democrats might feel pressure to vote for the package to keep the lights on. Johnson said, I was communicating with Elon. Elon, Vivek, and I were in a text chain, so they're all in a group text like we are. And I was explaining to them the background of this. And Vivek and I talked last night about almost midnight, and he said, look, I get it. We understand you're in an impossible position, Mike. Everyone knows that. Now, of course, Johnson's spending plan was giving him heartburn before Musk even weighed in. Conservatives were always going to have a problem with increased spending. Tim Burchett said, look, I welcome the Elon fight. I've been doing this a long time. I spoke out against it yesterday. Switching to a clean spending bill won't totally solve Johnson's problems. He'll still need help from Democrats to even pass a clean bill. Some conservatives still won't vote for it, even without the add-ons. But the current spending plan is sparking widespread opposition from dozens of Republicans, including some typical Johnson allies. There was open skepticism among Republicans that Johnson would be able to get a majority for spending, but that would put him on shaky ground moving into January 3rd when there's going to be a new speaker race. So Thomas Massie, we know him, and what did he call himself? Nostradamus, right? He called himself Nostradamus, which I think is pretty funny. Like Nostradamus, he's like, I told you Johnson was going to do this again right during Christmas, saying several others said that they are committed to backing Johnson, who can't become speaker if he gets more than one GOP no vote early next month. And so will that happen? We will see. But as we saw, Trump is not interested in having this thing passed. Here is another excerpt on that from Fox Business, where they were talking about this.
In the last couple of minutes, Donald Trump has told Fox News he is, quote, totally against the proposed continuing resolution bill that has just been floated by Congress. And a lot of people haven't had a chance to read it. It's more than 1,700 pages. But that spending bill is not sitting well with the president-elect. Again, please keep in mind that the House is controlled by Republicans. So this is engendering a lot of Sturm und Drang at the moment. And considering we do see a big drop here, we do see the NASDAQ down 648 points, S&P down 163. So maybe not entirely driven by the Federal Reserve saying the economy is strong, so only 2 rate cuts next year versus 4. Joining me now with 4 points in the last couple of...
So stock market obviously shifting today. I think there was some rationale for that being related to the Fed, who also spoke today, so that might be another reason. But Chip Roy also was speaking about this. You know him. Says the House GOP should vote no on this, okay? This is the Krampus Christmas Cramnibus. Sounds like a lump of coal. Does it come with a gift receipt? We don't want it. It's a 1,547-page, quote, Christmas bill. Violates House rule requiring at least 72 hours, to actually read the bill, which they don't want anybody to read. Stops automatic spending cuts that are required by law, drives up the deficit by spending $110 billion on unpaid for disaster-related spending, includes a massive healthcare package that is paid for with budget gimmicks, extends the State Department's Global Engagement Center. Oh, that's cool. What is that? That is working to suppress free speech online, reauthorizes the Second Chance Act, which provides services to violent criminals, harms refineries by allowing year-round sale of 15% ethanol gasoline, provides billions in extra funding to fund the Job Corps, a failed scandal federal jobs program, authorizes millions of migrant and seasonal farm workers to give jobs to foreigners, creates a multi-million-dollar EPA pilot program to make recycling, which is fake, even more accessible. So here's Chip Roy. He came out and was talking about what a joke this whole thing is.
And the conference needs to decide whether we're actually serious about spending. And they talk about, well, we got to do mandatory spending reform and bend the curve. But we just voted on a $200 billion shift of dollars in Social Security that's going to shorten the time when Social Security expires or goes bankrupt. We're just fundamentally unserious. about spending. And as long as you got a blank check, you can't shrink government. If you can't shrink government, you can't live free.
Do you plan on supporting the speaker in January?
All right, shout out to Chip Roy. Now, this happens every time, okay? It's constant. They are just repeatedly violating what they say that they'll do the next time, and then the next time comes around and they just do what they promised they would never do again, right? It's always, we have to this time. We have to. This is it. Just vote this one time and we will never do it again. We fast forward, they do it again every time. We're sick of it. But the Republicans were out. They were speaking on this today, this morning. Actually, I think it was this afternoon, not long ago, talking about Trump's first 100 days. Here's what the Republicans had to say.
You guys see the order?
It's like Rick Scott coming in. There's Ron Johnson, a bunch of senators. Mike Lee from Utah's in the House.
All right. We came together today because
Senators.
we want to get something accomplished.
Okay,
if you
let's
look
see.
at the group of people up here, and we are here because we're for things. We're here because we want to get something, make something happen up here. In my case, I've been here 6 years. It's been pretty frustrating to try to get things accomplished. President Trump had a mandate. I just went through my election, and I can just tell you what people were talking about, why they were voting for Donald Trump, and why they voted for Republicans. Number one, they want a secure border. They're fed up. They're fed up with drugs. They're fed up with criminals. They're fed up with terrorists coming across the border. They're fed up with having an open border. Number two, they're fed up with inflation. Now, they probably haven't tied inflation enough to government spending, but to the certain extent they are, and they're expecting Republicans to stop inflation. However we can do it, that's what their expectation is. So we came together to try to come up with how do we get something positive done. Number one, there ought to be probably a two-step process because it's going to take a while to do the things we have to do, extending the Trump tax cuts. So what should we do first? The American public wants right now a secure border. Now, unfortunately, it's going to take a lot of resources, which it wouldn't have taken if the border had never been opened.
Well, they're selling the wall now.
When Donald Trump, when I came up here 6 years ago, when government was shut down, if the Democrats had funded what Donald Trump wanted on the border. But now it does. So what do we need? We need money for more Border Patrol agents. We need more money for ICE agents to do the deportations. We need to have money for the wall, money for vessels, money for technology.
Money.
Just as an example, what is Biden doing?
Just cut other things, and then you'll have that money. Like, stop spending money on your $2,000 hammers and just spend that money towards the border.
We've got to get that done. We've talked to Senator Graham, who's going to run the. He'll be the chair of the Budget Committee, and he is absolutely committed to having a border bill done quickly.
Oh, we're going to give so much money to Ukraine.
Donald Trump
It's going to be
sign, and we'll get the border secure. Now, the second bill, there's going to be a lot of things we all want to get accomplished. Number one, we've got to extend the Trump tax cuts. And there's probably a lot of things we can do to improve the tax policy of this country to do what we should be doing. Our tax policy should be doing, how do we make sure we fund our government, but how do we do it in a manner that we create jobs, don't destroy jobs? So there's a lot of opportunities to do that. And I know Senator Johnson and Senator Lee were both involved in that process a few years ago. In our letter, we say we ought to look at least $2.5 trillion worth of savings. Reality is the numbers are going to have to be bigger than that. Let's think about the numbers. We've had a 2% increase in population in the last 5 years, 53% increase in funding. Joe Biden's been president 1.6% of the history of this country. He's responsible for 23% of the entire federal debt. I've been up here 6 years. We've doubled the federal debt from 18 to $36 trillion. This is a problem. Inflation will not go away. Interest rates are not going to come down until we figure out how to start saving money. I know on the House side, the House Budget Committee has significant opportunities for savings, and I know that all of us are going to work diligently to find every dollar of savings we can to make sure we take care of the American public, but also we save money. So let me turn it over to the chairman of the Freedom Caucus, Andy Harris.
Thank you very much, Senator Scott. Look, the president won a mandate on November 5th, and the mandate, just as the senator said, was to deliver on the economy and deliver on the border. The bottom line is that what Congress needs to show the American people that we are 100% behind the president's mandate and the president's policy, and the letter indicates how we think it needs to be done. We do know that extending the tax cuts is incredibly important, but will require some hard decisions to be made on spending reductions in order to control the deficit. But the first thing we need to do coming out of the box is we need to pass an emergency border bill. It has to be passed, obviously, because we don't expect any help from our Democrat colleagues while they're spending their time selling off border wall. We're going to have to actually pass a bill that makes us buy back border wall or buy new border wall because it's being sold off, in addition to all the things Senator Scott said. So we need to go ahead on a bicameral basis. The Republicans need to show we are behind this agenda. We need to deliver on a border bill as soon as we can because the American people expect it, and then we need to immediately
It better
turn our
be a better
attention
border
to
bill than the
improving
last one that
economy
came out of the
by
crap
making
Senate
sure
with
that
Langford from
the
Oklahoma.
average
It was the
American does
worst
not
thing
get
we
a
ever
tax
saw.
increase, that we deliver on
So
some of
this
the
guy's from the
president's
Freedom
promises
Caucus, so
like
hopefully
tax
that's
on
better.
tips, and that we control the growth of the, I should say control the growth of the federal budget, and therefore decrease the federal deficit. So again, this is going to be a bicameral effort. We are fully in support of what the president's agenda is, and this letter indicates how we think Congress ought to proceed. With that, I turn it over to Senator Mike Lee.
In returning President Trump to the White House, the American people could not have been more clear. They want operational control over the border again. They want our country to not be under invasion anymore. They want border security. Our reconciliation proposal today keeps the promise made for Americans. We are going to deliver real border security right up front and no more kicking the can down the road. And a vital part of that first reconciliation package, which will include border security, we've got a fantastic way of paying for it, of offsetting it through an appropriate mechanism that is tied to our lack of border security. My legislation that will be used as part of the pay for is called the America First Act. What the America First Act does is to stop, get the federal government to stop subsidizing illegal immigration, stop giving federal welfare benefits and other advantages that are supposed to go to U.S. citizens and not to illegal aliens. We can keep them out of the hands of those who aren't supposed to be here in the first place. We'll save an enormous amount of money. I mean, we're talking about $100 billion, possibly significantly more than that, depending on exactly how the score turns out. Look, for years, we as Americans have been told that we don't need to worry about one thing in particular when there's illegal immigration happening. That don't worry, they're not getting welfare benefits. They're not eligible for them. Well, there are some problems with that. One of the many problems with it, under this administration in particular, is that there are millions of people who have come in here and then have been papered over as if they were legal when in fact they are not, through, among other things, the illegal, unlawful use of a technique known as immigration parole. Immigration parole is there to be used for humanitarian or...
Now, I don't know, I know this area of the law is so giant and convoluted. I don't know how much of this is true. How much do they need to pass in order to get stuff done on immigration? The laws are already on the books. It's already illegal, right? Trump already had a lot of this stuff figured out without the Senate passing their garbage bills, like Langford proposed, that doesn't solve the border, okay? I don't know how many, like I'm an Arizona boy, born and raised here. They're always saying this. For 39 years of my life, they've been screaming, we need to pass a bill. We need a border, money. We need some more solutions. You just have to enforce the laws that are already on the books. If you just act like you got a pair, just like act like you mean it, and enforce the law with a heavy hand, like Trump was trying to do, then a lot of the problem is solved. Biden came in and with the stroke of a pen snapped his fingers like Thanos, and the border wall just was wide open borders all over the place. People came pouring in. The Senate didn't pass a bill to cause Joe Biden to ransack the country with illegals from all over the world. That was done by executive fiat. Now, I know these are senators and their job is to sit around and beg for more money, although this is a representative. This is Andy Biggs from Arizona. Ron Johnson, big fans of Ron Johnson. Let's listen to Ron, see what he had to say about all this.
Thank you, Andy. First of all, I want to thank all of my colleagues here on a bicameral basis for attending this press conference. This group of individuals are leaders. There are others, but these are leaders in Congress who realize that it is immoral to mortgage our children's future, and we want to stop that. We also fully realize that Biden's open border policy represents a clear and present danger to America. But this is also a group of people who oftentimes, unfortunately, get scorned because we generally vote no, because the uniparty is mortgaging our children's future. But
That's right.
we are a bicameral group of people who want to be part of the solution, who vote no most of the time, but we want to vote yes. And I don't think Senator Rick Scott or this group has been given near enough credit for, first of all, the tenacity of Senator Scott holding a weekly dinner where we talked about the debt ceiling. None of us had ever voted for an increase in the debt ceiling.
Where was that dinner at?
We talked for week
Ruth's
after
Chris?
week after week.
Government credit cards?
Finally realized, well, the only way we're going to get
We have a
something
weekly
for an
dinner,
increase in the
all
debt
you can
ceiling
eat.
is if
Talk
we
about
were to
inflation.
support something. So it was the Freedom Caucus that actually had the bill. And then very reasonable negotiation with their other House members to propose something that unfortunately Speaker McCarthy kind of frittered away that proposal. But anyway, we are here about solutions. And that is why we want to be very public that we support the two reconciliation bill solutions, starting out with a very rapid passage of something that provides President Trump the resources he needs to honor the promise he made to Americans, that the Americans support overwhelming margins to secure our border. But also being the accountant of this group, I have to provide a chart.
Yeah.
You know, Senator Scott talked about
How much
the
does that
fact that
cost?
our population since 2019 has increased 2%, but spending is up over 50%. And this chart basically represents that. But I think what's notable about this, I put a baseline. If we would have grown our spending by a reasonable baseline of population growth, even with high Biden inflation, we would have gone from about $4.4 trillion in spending in 2019, and instead of spending almost $7 trillion this last fiscal year, we'd have been spending about 5.7. The difference of spending above that reasonable baseline, and again, how can anybody dispute that it'd be reasonable to grow federal spending by population growth plus inflation?
And look at this chart. You can see now the interest, fiscal year 2025, the interest actually happened in 2024 too. The interest on the debt was more than our defense spending. Look, 889 in interest of this year, fiscal year 24, versus I want to say that's 884. So defense spending was 884 million, billion rather, million. Yeah, right. Billion. Interest was 889 billion. Now this year, it's going to be almost $1 trillion in interest. So 966 billion and 900 billion for defense. That's it. So you can see we're just bleeding ourselves out. Medicare, Medicaid, trillions of dollars go to that. Other mandatory spending, trillions of dollars. And they're going to try to pass another one.
We're at $36 trillion in debt. The amount of spending over that reasonable baseline represents
We pay more interest than the cost of the entire U.S. military. All of it.
Well, there we go.
Insane.
$8 trillion. We further mortgage our children's future. One final note. One of the techniques of the uniparty in massively increasing spending is they transfer discretionary spending into mandatory. I think that's, again, it's off budget. We don't appropriate that. It's just spending that occurs automatically. But most people when they hear mandatory spending think of Social Security. They think of Medicare or even Medicaid. The reality is because of the actions of the uniparty, since 2019, we've increased other mandatory spending. Again, not Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, by about the same amount as we increased those three programs. Those programs have increased about $700 billion. Other mandatory spending has increased by $680 billion per year.
Oh, it's so gross.
Again, off the books. You can't touch it.
So
other
gross.
than reconciliation. And so when Senator Scott talks about $2.5 trillion as being a minimum level that we need to cut spending in our reconciliation package, I'm saying we've got about a $6.8 trillion pool of 10-year money that we should be evaluating for dramatically reducing the size and scope of government. Because when government grows, our freedoms necessarily recede. And I say that's the other value we all hold. We think government is here to jealously guard our freedom, not cause and exacerbate more problems and mortgage our children's future.
They're
So with
supposed
that, I'm
to.
happy to turn it over to Congressman Ralph Norman.
All right, so that was Johnson. Let's see if there's anybody else who's. We've got Clay Higgins, I believe, coming in. He's a House member, a Republican.
Today, the most conservative members of the House and the Senate, and we are together to support the two-step reconciliation strategy. America must understand that reconciliation as a process is a unique opportunity to avoid the Senate's filibuster during the annual congressional budget process. This is our opportunity to reset our spending, to change the trajectory of spending, to reflect the priorities of the American people, and to advance conservative policy wins. President Trump was resoundingly elected by the American people, and the incoming administration must be provided with the proper resources to accomplish real change beginning in January. The American people clearly demand that we stop the arterial bleed at our border and finally build the wall and develop the assets necessary, funding the necessary manpower to enforce the laws that we already have on the books. We understand that necessary tax simplification and reform will come later to ensure that the cost of living for working families is reduced. Promises made, promises kept was a constant and admired theme of the first Trump administration. With this plan, we'll set up President Trump to do it again from day one in his next term. I thank the senators and my colleagues from the House for allowing me to speak today, and I'm honored to introduce the next, Scott Perry. Where's the general? There he is. There's my general right there.
Well, thanks, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, credit goes to Rick, Mike, Ron, the senators that stand on the front line, of course, our chairman, Freedom Caucus, Andy Harris. This is to show you and the American people that Republicans have a plan to realize and to make sure that not only President Trump's mandate, but America's wishes are fulfilled, and that they can be fulfilled quickly and completely. And so we're set on getting the border stuff done almost immediately, and it's going to be paid for correctly, and then we move on to
Mexico?
The probably more complicated issue of making sure that people don't have to pay more in taxes than they should, and they don't have to pay more for the goods and services that they currently can't afford under a Biden administration. But the point is this plan has been put together with the great people up on this stage and others, but mostly led by Senator Scott and Andy Harris, and Republicans have a plan to make sure that President Trump's mandate, America's wishes, are fulfilled. Thank you all.
All right, so the
Any of us can
Republicans.
answer any questions that anybody has.
All right, let's take some questions and then we'll.
The CR was brought up a few times. We'll start there. Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, even some senators are now posting on X saying that they should not take up this bill. The House, it sounds like, could vote on it today. You all don't usually vote for CRs. So what is your message to Speaker Johnson, and why do you think he put a product up like this out there?
Over 1,500 pages, all right? The bills that never seen the light of day, none of us knew what was in them. People are expected to vote on very quickly. More regulation, I mean, just wasteful spending, no pay-fors, right? It makes no sense. This is, we won the election. This has got to change. And people act like, oh, you can't balance a budget. So I balanced a budget when I was governor. I walked in a budget deficit. You do it by looking at everything you spend money on. Look at every line in the budget. Look at all the regulations. You can cut 20% of regulations. I'm very appreciative of what Elon Musk is doing and Vivek Ramaswamy, because we can do it. It's all doable. So I don't know. You probably want to talk about that.
Let me just comment. Look, the American people don't send their representatives to Washington to vote on a 1,500-page bill in less than 24 hours that spends $110 billion.
It's gross.
$110 billion to the deficit without the opportunity to offer an amendment to perhaps pay for this bill. The process is broken. I think that Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk recognize that if they are empowered to somehow reduce government spending and reduce our deficit because, as Elon Musk says, deficit equals inflation. That's the bottom line. When we do deficit spending, we're printing money, we are causing inflation. How are we going to change that if one of the actions we take after November 5th is to take a vote on a bill that's $110 billion, a direct addition to our deficit and our debt, without even a vote on a pay for? We have to change business, the way business is done in Washington. Look, unfortunately, it does look like we're probably going to vote on this today. I don't know. They're whipping the votes over in the House to see if they have the votes to pass this. I think most Americans would view this as exactly what they think is wrong with Washington.
Do you have confidence in Speaker Johnson staying on then?
Well, I don't know. I'm only one vote out of 220. Look, I think the Speaker could have handled this differently. At this point, I'm still supportive of the Speaker, but I will tell you that voices both inside the House Freedom Caucus and outside the Freedom Caucus have been very disappointed at what's happened this week.
Interesting.
Anybody else want to say anything about the CR?
No, I'll just quickly say it's like Chairman Harris said, it's the way it was done. Not going through a rule, not letting us vote individually. And guess what was hidden in there? And I'm still livid about this. Pay raises for us.
For you.
How does that square?
More
What
money for
return on
Congress?
investment have we given the people of America other than $37 trillion in debt? It makes no sense.
It's
And
crazy.
have no pay fors? How does that work? No family or business would do that. And no family or business, as has been mentioned, how do you read? A speed reader can't read 1,547 pages in less than 24 hours. It's insanity. Now, the next question is, what are you going to do? Friday at 12 o'clock, the budget. I mean, that's when the shutdown. Well, look, it is what it is, and we got to face it. But rather than saddle each one of you young people with more and more debt, it's insanity. And that's
Right.
it flies in the face of the Doge Commission. That's what everybody's excited about. Yet
Exactly.
We do this, makes no sense.
Exactly. And they keep saying if they shut it down, that's going to cause more problems for everybody. And I don't know who that's going to cause problems for. I mean, people are facing problems because of the inflation. Elon himself has explained inflation comes from government spending. When you've got $1 trillion in interest that you're dumping out every year and other mandatory spending, and then you dump on more spending on top of that, that's where the inflation comes from. So the shutdown, if it stops the spending, it will stop or lessen the increase of inflation, which is what we want. That is the solution. So stop the spending. Now, they're going to come out and they're going to say they don't want Republicans to be blamed for a government shutdown because everybody gets all upset during a shutdown and so on and whatever. You say, wait a minute. They're going to be punished, what, in 2026? 2 years from now? People are going to be mad at them for that? When the spending goes down and inflation hopefully returns back to normal? I don't think so. You're going to have a bunch of government workers who are upset about it because they're going to be furloughed or whatever. But that is not a part of the solution that is required. We're going to have upset government workers. Elon and Vivek have said, yep, they got to get integrated, go find other jobs in the private sector, and we'll make it easy for them. But what he's saying is true. The spending is the problem. Government passing more bills in order to, spend more money, but solve problems that are going to reduce the inflation, it's illogical, and they know it. That guy knows it. At least he's explaining it.
We need to realize that since November the 5th, since we got this mandate for President Trump, the House, if we pass this bill with $110 billion, we will have passed more than $300 billion in additional spending since November the 5th. That's the trajectory that we have got to stop. Thank you.
What else? Yes, sir.
Democrats found out how hard it was to do immigration policy changes because of the Byrd rule previously. How are you guys going to get around? Or
Not really.
is
They
there
did a
a
bunch
way
of
to get
stuff. They
around,
changed everything. The border's wide open.
Objections to immigration policies that would be birded out.
So, well, first off, if you look at what we're talking about spending and having pay fors. That's what we're talking about doing. So we're not doing what the Democrats are trying to do is completely change the immigration policy of the country. I think it's not, it doesn't violate the Byrd rule if you secure the border and you pay for it. I don't know if anybody else wants to add anything. Okay. Yes.
I just want to put a finer point on this. Does everyone here have the prerequisite that you need $2.5 trillion at least of spending cuts, the elimination of the green credits in order to vote for the Trump tax cuts in the second reconciliation bill?
I don't think that's the way we look at it. These are examples, but I think everybody up here probably expects to get more. So
Keep in mind, though, this is not that bill. We're talking about a different reconciliation bill, one that's likely to come up toward the beginning of the year. We don't expect the tax bill to come until a few months later.
Let me also add, the way you ought to look at what's going to happen in 26 is a massive automatic tax increase. Now, I think most Republicans will do everything we can to avoid a massive $4 trillion plus tax increase.
What?
From my standpoint, as we do that, I think somebody else mentioned simplification. I'd like to simplify and rationalize the tax code. That's going to take a longer period of time. But there's some people arguing, well, you have to combine border security with that in order to get it passed. I think there's a great deal of pressure right there preventing that massive tax increase on the American economy. That would be completely counterproductive. It'd actually, in the end, increase deficits because it'll do so much economic harm. So again, it's avoiding a massive tax increase is what
$4 trillion
really,
automatic.
Once we get past securing the border.
I think we'll take one more question.
Senator Crapo has suggested maybe the tact, especially for this tax part of the reconciliation, two-bill process, using a current policy baseline rather than a current law baseline. How does that fit into your objective about, reducing deficits and, pay fors when that would set the baseline of the TC?
Well, I think it's two different issues. One issue is as Senator Johnson says, we've got to stop these massive tax increases, and using policy is a logical way of doing that. There's also opportunities to simplify the tax code, but on top of that, everybody up here, we expect significant reductions in the cost of government. We don't have a choice. If you just look at our economy, we have a $28 trillion GDP, right? If you think interest rates are going down, we have to refinance $8+ trillion of treasuries a year, plus we're losing $2 trillion a year. We have got to get to a balanced budget. Now, are we going to get there in 1 year? I could. I did as governor. I did every year as governor. Everybody up here could probably do that. So we have to work with our colleagues to get there.
I have to chime in on this one, sorry. What we do right now with spending policy that ends is we extend that policy based on current policy. It's only tax policy that ends. So again, everything in the way our rules are written favors increasing spending and disfavors tax cuts. So we're just going to equalize that treatment. If we treat spending policies that end and we're going to extend those based on current policy, so there's no score to doing that. There shouldn't be a score when we just continue current tax policy and prevent a massive tax increase. So again, we're just trying to equalize that treatment. It's totally within the jurisdiction of the Budget Committee. I serve on that. I think Chairman Graham hopefully will be supportive of that as well. It just makes common sense.
Lindsey Graham. Okay. All right, look, I'm hopeful that they deliver. We're going to be positive and optimistic here and hope that they deliver, but if it's just going to be we need more money and more bills and stuff like that, and I guess that's all they can deliver as the Senate. They better not squander this, man. They better not squander this. We have a once-in-a-life opportunity, and if they're going to come back with a Senator Langford crap bill for the border or some other disgusting bill, we're not going to be happy about it. So we'll see what happens with spending. The clock is ticking on this. Trump and J.D. Vance have made their position known. Time to stop the spending. Stop giving the Democrats endless gobs of money. You've got to cut it off at that level, right? If the idea is you want to stop the actors from doing the bad things, yes, you can go and you can fight on the game field with the actors, those people who are playing the game, or you can go also and take away the money who is funding the players, which is exactly what the Republicans should do, because the Democrats have been absconding and ransacking the Treasury for their own gains. And it needs to be taken out like on a forklift. Right out. Take it out of the Capitol and give it back to the people. All right, so my friends, we'll keep our eye on the spending. We'll keep our eye on the Senate and Congress. Thanks for subscribing and joining as we do. All right, now let's talk some Luigi Mangione stuff, and then we'll hear from you. But first, we got some more forklift happening. He's going to come say hello. There he is. Come on. Yes. All right, so here's what's happening, forklift guy. Great job. Amazing. We're getting some more set up over here. These friends over here. We got some booth, pirate money. Facts Over Feelings podcast is down the street. Right next door. There's our light. Oops, sorry about that. All right. And the camera went dead. All right, so we're back. All right, so there must be, there's a loose cable right there. There it is. A little tight. All right, got that fixed. Okay, so my friends, now let's talk about some Luigi Mangione business. Here's what we got. Luigi Mangione, now indicted in New York. We've been waiting for this one to come down. We've got the full indictment. We're going to read through it. It looks like this. Not a big one, 6 pages, but it details the murder charge. And so we'll see what Alvin Bragg has come out with today. We also will spend some time going through the press briefing and seeing what they say here. Now, Alvin Bragg is coming off the heels of a loss in the Daniel Penny trial, which should never have been brought in the first place. And Bragg is also somebody who has now scored a little bit of a victory because Judge Merchan has said President Trump does not have any presidential immunity at all in the New York prosecution for the false business records upon which Trump had 34 guilty verdicts. So Bragg is now, I think, spinning this into Luigi Mangione, and he's going to try to make this a good case to cover up his just history of failures. One of the worst DAs maybe in the country. I mean, he's brought a lot of cases that have been very poorly presented and prosecuted, maybe next to Fannie. If Alvin Bragg hires his lover and starts indicting her or him, then maybe he would be worse than Fannie, but the two of them are neck and neck. So here's the press conference. We're going to come back on that. I want to share with you the press release that came out here. Bragg announces a murder indictment of Luigi Mangione. So here's what it says. It says that they came out and they announced he's been indicted. He's 26, murdered CEO Brian Thompson outside the Hilton. He's charged with murder, 1 count of murder in the first degree. Wow. Calling it in furtherance of terrorism. Okay, remember, we were just seeing him charged with second-degree murder, and people were saying, well, why second degree? And what we learned is in New York, first-degree murder is like murder plus. So second-degree murder, you can still have premeditation. It's almost analogous to first-degree murder in other jurisdictions, but it's like murder plus. So it's like if you murder a judge, or if you murder a cop, or if you murder somebody who's a healthcare worker. There's things that aggravate it and make it first degree. So here in furtherance of terrorism is what they're saying. And now, like, basically everything is terrorism. Is this terrorism? I mean, I think a lot of the healthcare CEOs are pretty terrorized right now. They deleted their leadership boards from all of their websites, right? But is that what terrorism is? We'll have to see what the indictment says, and you can be the judge. Now, 2 counts of criminal possession of a weapon in the second degree, 4 counts, we'll read through it. They say, we allege that Mangione carried out the brazen and targeted fatal shooting of healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. This type of premeditated targeted gun violence cannot and will not be tolerated. And so I want to extend my heartfelt condolences to everybody involved. Now, they say, according to court documents and statements made on the record, we've got the following set of facts. And so let's just go to the indictment and get it directly from them. As we can see, this is the indictment. The people of the state of New York versus Luigi Mangione, telling us that the grand jury of New York by this indictment is now accusing Mangione of murder in the first degree. And that is the most serious type that they have. The defendant on December 4th, being more than 18 years old, with the intent to cause the death of another person, caused the death of Brian Thompson. and said person was killed in furtherance of an act of terrorism involving a violent act and acts dangerous to human life that were in violation of criminal laws of this state and were intended to intimidate and coerce a civilian population, influence the policies of a government unit by intimidation or coercion, and affect the conduct of a unit of government by murder, assassination, or kidnapping. So they go into New York law and they say he hits it. Now, second count is murder in the second degree, right? And that's what we saw originally via, I believe that was just a direct complaint. But now murder in the second degree comes up, saying the defendant with the intent to intimidate committed murder in the second degree when he intended to cause the death of another person. Brian Thompson. Now, third count, murder in the second degree, caused the death. So he's got, okay, so murder in the second degree, it's a separate section. I'm like, why are these two? Because they're charging this as with an aggravator of terrorism. And they found that in this statute right here, 490.25. So not a lot of details on that. So the terrorism is just intimidation, so intent to intimidate. Is that what he intended to do, to intimidate other CEOs? The argument would be, yeah, he put depose, deny, delay, whatever the words were on the bullets. And so that was trying to send a message. Cause the death to try to influence the policy, which I guess would be, don't be healthcare CEOs who deny people claims. Now, the third count is just a simple murder in the second degree. Fourth count, possession of a weapon, criminal possession, possessed a loaded firearm with the intent to unlawfully use it against another person. So I don't know what New York laws are again about guns, but they're probably terrible. So he had a weapon, he used it, that's illegal. Fifth, criminal possession of a weapon, saying that he possessed a loaded firearm that is not in his home or business. So in New York, probably illegal to have a gun that's not in your home or business. And sixth count, third degree possession, he possessed an assault weapon. Okay, how do they define assault weapon in New York? That 3D printed handgun, it was an assault weapon? I guess so every gun is an assault weapon, according to New York law? All right. Okay, all right. Criminal possession of a weapon in the third degree, he also possessed a silencer. So maybe there's something in New York law about 3D weapons or silencers that aggravates it. Eighth count, he had a large capacity ammunition feeding device, a Glock magazine, which under New York law must be illegal. And similarly, he had a Magpul magazine. He possessed a large capacity ammunition feeding device, a Magpul magazine. 10th count continues on. Fourth degree weapons charge, not being a licensed gunsmith or dealer, knowing that it was a ghost gun, he possessed a ghost gun. No serial number on there, 3D printed. And 11th count, forged instrument. He had the fake ID, an instrument that was forged with the intent to defraud and deceive other people, which was a New Jersey driver's license. Now we're listening. We're listening to somebody speaking right now at AmFest. Sounds like a prayer.
But that is not all. Oh, no. Look at me, look at me, look at me now. It is fine to have, but you have to know.
All right, so this is the indictment. You can see we've got, looks like 11 charges, 11 counts against Luigi Mangione, filed in New York by Alvin Bragg. And so he is now facing the most serious charges you can face in New York, murder in first degree with terrorism. And not a lot of new facts that came out in this indictment, but we'll see what Alvin Bragg said during his press conference in New York. This is how it went down. All right, Alvin, this is your big debut.
Good afternoon. I'm Alvin Bragg, Manhattan District Attorney. I'm honored and privileged to be joined by Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch. First and foremost, I want to extend my deepest condolences to Mr. Thompson's loved ones and colleagues. His family deserves our respect as they continue to grieve. Our work will never be able to undo the fact that a life was lost. We are here to announce that Luigi Mangione, the defendant, is charged with 1 count of murder in the first degree and 2 counts of murder in the second degree, including 1 count of murder in the second degree as an act of terrorism, with a brazen, targeted, and premeditated shooting of Brian Thompson, who, as you know, was the CEO of United Healthcare.
That's a weird position to be in, because Luigi Mangione, if he murdered a CEO, okay, whoever the person who did that murder is a bad person. It's a heinous thing to do, to shoot somebody in the back. You might disagree with them politically. You might have a big problem with healthcare companies, as we do. You might have been born out of the COVID era, right? Your whole sort of new epiphany on how the world works might have changed pretty dramatically thanks to COVID and what our CDC and our government did to us and what these healthcare companies did to us. Now, all that being said, we don't want to live in a society where if you have a disagreement with somebody, whether it's big media or government officials or anybody who's done something bad, you don't just get to shoot them in the back, right? That's not the society we want to live on. Use your words, as they said in, second grade or whatever. And let's have a debate about it in public. And you rally people to your cause. Sometimes it can be very difficult. It can take a long time. Just think about what Trump and the MAGA movement have been through over these last 4 years. Had to be told that we were conspiracy theorists and liars and hacks and all the things, and extremist MAGA, blah, blah, blah. Got it. So we can have a perspective that shooting somebody in the back is a bad thing simultaneously, and that they should be prosecuted and justice should be done, because we don't want people to be shooting other people in the back like cowards. So whoever did that shooting is reprehensible and should be held accountable to the law. No doubt about that. But simultaneously, Alvin Bragg, we know, is, first of all, not that bright. He had to bring in a bunch of other people to actually do anything in his office. So he brought Matthew Colangelo to prosecute Trump. Tish James also used Matthew Colangelo. Remember, Cy Vance was the guy who came in before him, brought on 2 other people, Mark Pomerantz and Kerry Dunn, who's had to stay over to help Alvin Bragg figure out how to prosecute Trump, right? He's not smart. He's not that good at what he does. He's just been in government for his whole life. And so he just got promoted. It's New York. So he's not really ideal to be the prosecutor to investigate this case. And I certainly don't want to see a situation where the government just picks on, one person, identifies an orgy of evidence that makes their case extremely convenient and just doesn't look into it at all. Now, maybe it is an open and cut case. Maybe he did have everything. It doesn't make a lot of sense why he would go through all of this effort to conceal his identity and then get caught stuffing his face with hash browns at a McDonald's. Like, oh, I'm right here. And, what the hell? And he's got all of the evidence in, even though he dumped a backpack off with Monopoly money. He was covering his face. He was using fake IDs to check in at hostels and all these things. Then he ends up with a whole backpack full of evidence while he's eating hash browns. It's strange. So is Bragg going to prosecute this case legitimately? We want good prosecutors. We want prosecutors who actually get the truth and actually deliver justice. We don't want moron prosecutors who just do whatever their political masters tell them to do, like Alvin Bragg did when he got the order from Joe Biden and Merrick Garland to accept Matthew Colangelo to prosecute Trump. We'd like actual competent people at all levels of government so that they can actually find the real defendants, whether that is Luigi Mangione or not. Time will tell. It looks like it is based on all of the evidence that's being reported. It's like, holy crap, how can it not be him? Which is why we ask, is it really him? So we'll continue to monitor this, but Bragg here is now having to make this case the pillar of his office because he's failed at basically every other case. He's failed so far with the Trump prosecution, and he's failed with the Daniel Penny prosecution. and he's not doing a good job. So now this is going to be his saving grace. We'll see. But is he going to actually do his due diligence as a prosecutor, or is he just going to say, let's see, it's just Luigi. We're just done and just prosecute him and call it a day? Because as it stands, Luigi has hired another lawyer who's very reputable in New York. And if he's somebody who wanted to be caught and make a big political statement about this, what is his defense going to be? What is he going to be saying in defense? And I think the first thing is going to be ID. It's not him.
This case was made possible by the collaborative efforts of the phenomenal public servants you see before you today, and so many others who are not here. I'm honored to lead the Manhattan District Attorney's Office and privileged to serve alongside Assistant District Attorneys Joel Seidman, Kristen Bailey, and Zachary Kaplan, who were working from the outset, hand in hand, with the greatest police department in the world. The chief of our trial division, Lisa Del Pizzo, and the deputy chief, Chris Prevos, provided sage oversight and direction. And I want to acknowledge our high technology analysis unit. There was a lot to be processed here. Steve Moran, in particular, who heads that, and Marco Popik. We are privileged here at the DA's office to work every day with the phenomenal public servants at the NYPD. It has been a distinct pleasure to work besides Commissioner Tisch, an exemplary partner,
and they identified him that way.
Joseph Kinney, almost every day in touch, and his leadership is second to none. And then Deputy Commissioner Rebecca Weiner, who, as I tell her, there are a lot of challenging things happening in the world, and I sleep better at night knowing that she is the Deputy Commissioner in charge of terrorism. The detectives on this, out doing the courageous frontline work, Detective Oscar Diaz, Detective Curcio, exemplary, the finest. It wasn't just those of us here in New York. I want to acknowledge the great work of our partners in Altoona, the Altoona Police Department, the Blair County District Attorney's Office, the governors of New York and Pennsylvania, the FBI, and of course, the brave members of the public. Who answered the call when our great commissioner put out the call for their assistance.
Yeah, they found him. Okay, you guys didn't find him. He did. The caller did, the McDonald's employee. Maybe she, I don't know. But they called, and apparently she identified him with that beanie and that mask on. She's like, I would know those eyebrows anywhere. Even though there's like a little bit of a unibrow problem and a difference. But anyways.
This was a frightening, well-planned, targeted murder that was intended to cause shock and attention and intimidation. It occurred in one of the most bustling parts of our city, threatening the safety of local residents and tourists alike, commuters and business people just starting out on their day. Let me say a bit more about the charges. They include 1 count of murder in the first degree as a killing in furtherance of terrorism, 2 counts of murder in the second degree, 1 charging that the killing was done as an act of terrorism, and the second pertaining to the fact that the killing was intentional. The maximum penalty possible for murder in the first degree and murder in the second degree as an act of terrorism is life without parole. The maximum penalty for murder in the second degree is 25 years to life. There are additional counts as well. A number of criminal possession of weapon charges, 2 counts in the second degree, 4 counts in the third degree, 1 count in the fourth degree, and a count of criminal possession of a forged instrument in the second degree. Let me tell you a bit about the facts. On November 24th, we allege that the defendant arrived in New York City to murder Brian Thompson. After the defendant arrived in New York City on a bus at Port Authority, he checked into the hostel on the Upper West Side using the name Mark Rosario with a fake New Jersey ID. On the morning of December 4th, the defendant left the hostel, just after 5:30 a.m. and traveled to Midtown. For nearly an hour, we allege the defendant waited in the area near the Hilton Hotel, waiting for Mr. Thompson to appear. From 6:38 a.m. to 6:44 a.m., the defendant stood across from the entrance of the hotel on West 54th Street When he saw Mr. Thompson, he crossed the street and approached him from behind. We allege he then took out a 9mm 3D printed ghost gun, equipped with a 3D printed suppressor, and shot him once in the back and once in the leg. The defendant then fled northeast on 54th Street and took an e-bike uptown before getting into a taxi that took him to West 178th Street and Amsterdam Avenue. On December 9th, the defendant was spotted at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. The local police were notified, he was arrested, and he was found with a 9mm handgun, a suppressor, 2 ammunition magazines, and the same fake New Jersey ID he used at the hostel. I want to say a word about ghost guns. These weapons are increasingly proliferating throughout New York City and the entire country. Involving technology will only make this problem worse. Last year, over 80 ghost guns and ghost gun parts were recovered in Manhattan alone. The NYPD and the Manhattan DA's office have been leading in the interdiction of these ghost guns. And one thing I want to make clear, they're unserialized, they can be printed out, but as this case tragically makes clear, they are just as deadly as traditional firearms. This will remain a priority for us here in Manhattan. Finally, I know there have been questions about the extradition process. The latest that I can offer you is that the defendant is currently scheduled to appear in court in Pennsylvania on Thursday morning, first for a preliminary hearing on his Pennsylvania charges. Immediately to follow that will be an extradition hearing. We have indications that the defendant may waive that hearing, in which case he's brought to New York forthwith. In any event, we have been preparing on parallel paths, and before the hearing, we'll send to the governor of the state of New York the paperwork that would be necessary if he does not waive during that hearing. I now want to turn over to our great commissioner, and when I do so, I wanted to thank her for her partnership, not only on this matter, but on all we do every day together. Thank you.
I think this might be Tish.
Good afternoon, everyone. The unsealing of today's indictment brings us one step closer to securing justice for Brian Thompson and his family and affirming the primacy of the rule of law in the city of New York. NYPD detectives worked tirelessly to piece this case together. And along the way, the Manhattan DA's office made sure we had every legal tool available to us. Whether quickly providing subpoenas to assist with our evidence collection, or traveling with us to Altoona, Pennsylvania last week after the apprehension, our partnership made this a successful investigation. So I'd like to thank District Attorney Bragg and his team for their work in bringing this case forward. Part of that work included the relentless collection and analysis of surveillance video by our detectives, which ultimately produced a clear image of our suspect. That image was shared far and wide through the media, and thanks to an observant McDonald's customer and the employee who alerted the police, Mr. Mangione was quickly brought into custody. This outcome is why we always emphasize the critical role of the public in our public safety mission.
We send the
so
best
again,
photos
I want to thank
NYPD.
everyone who saw something, said something, and did something. That is why we have a suspect in custody today. As DA Bragg said, Luigi Mangione is now formally charged and indicted for murder. And let me be perfectly clear. In the nearly 2 weeks since Mr. Thompson's killing, we have seen a shocking and appalling celebration of cold-blooded murder. Social media has erupted with praise for this cowardly attack.
I've got a news story about how much money they're sending him coming up.
Threatening the CEOs, other CEOs, with an X over Mr. Thompson's picture, as though he was some sort of a sick trophy. And yesterday,
they don't even know anything about the guy.
Yesterday, the New York Post reported that some extreme activists were circulating a deck of cards with other most wanted CEOs to be targeted for assassination.
Crazy.
These are the threats of a lawless, violent mob who would trade in their own vigilantism for the rule of law that protects us all. Let me say this plainly. There is no heroism in what Mangione did. This was a senseless act of violence. It was a cold and calculated crime that stole a life.
She got joy out of it.
And put New Yorkers at risk. We don't celebrate murders, and we don't lionize the killing of anyone. And any attempt to rationalize this is vile, reckless, and offensive to our deeply held principles of justice.
Well, good for her. A bunch of Democrats
as we
in New
await the
York are like,
extradition
what?
process in Pennsylvania to complete,
voting against you.
we continue our public safety work here at home. That includes our focus on the growing threat of ghost guns, one of which was used in this attack. The NYPD remains committed to tracking down and removing these untraceable weapons from our streets. And we will do that work hand in hand with District Attorney Bragg here in Manhattan and in every other borough to ensure that those who possess, distribute, and use these weapons are held fully accountable. Finally, I want to again thank every member of the NYPD, uniform and civilian, working on this case, led, of course, by our great Chief Kenny, whether in Midtown North Squad, Homicide, Crime Scene Unit, Intelligence Bureau, and everywhere else. All of you contributed to today's indictment, and you've brought the Thompson family one step closer to justice in this case. Thank you.
All right. Wow, that was a powerful statement. And
Anything on topic question?
questions?
Shayna?
Elaborate on the terrorism charge.
Sure. So, in its most basic terms, this was a killing that is intended to evoke terror. And we've seen that reaction. The statutory elements we can go into, but its most basic term, that's what this is. This was not an ordinary killing, not to suggest that any killing is ordinary, but this was extraordinary, and the New York State Legislature has, set out, both the paths that we talk about, both the murder one and murder two, and this we allege is certainly squarely within those statutes, which talk about intending to do exactly what we saw happen here.
Maybe Chief Kenny could get into this, but I'm wondering sort of the timeline between December 6th, when the FBI was notified by the San Francisco police about this missing person that was called in from Luigi's mother, the time that they contacted you about this. Were you aware of this when he was arrested, or was this something that was still being processed at the time? And what did his result?
So the original missing report took place back in November 18th in San Francisco.
And Mom, I think, filed that.
The sergeant that was involved in that case reached out to the San Francisco field office and said, hey, basically, I'm working on a missing case. I saw the photograph that was distributed by the NYPD. There bears a resemblance. That tip was forwarded to us close to 45 hours after the incident took place. It showed up to a TFO, which is a task force officer. We have NYPD officers embedded with the FBI. They received that tip. It was one of 4 tips that they had received that day, and they were vetting it. Part of that vetting process was that they reached out to Mangione's mother in San Francisco very late on the 7th. They had a conversation where she didn't indicate that it was her son in the photograph, but she said it might be something that she could see him doing. So that information was going to be passed along to the detectives the next morning, but fortunately we apprehended him before we could act on that.
The commissioner has talked about how the defendant's been lionized and celebrated. I'm wondering how concerned you are about a potential jury knowing that someone on that
getting
jury
somebody on that panel
was lionized and celebrated.
Well, I want to echo
Get a juror
the
who donated to the
commissioner's
guy.
words and concerns, which I think were put forth beautifully. I mean, we
bunch of New Yorkers acquit the
see
dude?
a lot in these jobs.
Wow.
I meet with the families of homicide victims, and I just can't wrap my head around the notion that someone is celebrating this. To your specific question, we're at the beginning of a litigation now with our charge. We have a phenomenal trial team in place, led by ADA Joel Seidman, who has been in this office for more than 40 years and handled some very challenging matters. We have a voir process in place. I have faith in our jury system to select 12 people who can be fair and impartial, but we'll move forward, and that's something well down the road, but we'll be ready when that time comes.
Two questions, if possible. One will be about Mr. Thompson's family. But the first, I want just maybe to explain more to viewers how you come to the conclusion that this is an act of terrorism. I think it's an important part of this. And so I'm hoping maybe you can explain that a little more, to sort of define maybe the statute here.
Sure, and my point, the statute talks about attempts to influence or coerce a civilian population. The statute talks about intending to influence a policy of government, and it talks about seeking to put forth things sort of similar to that by murder. So the statute, the plain language of the statute is clear. Obviously, we've charged it, the grand jury has voted on it, and we intend to go forward and prove it. But I think it does help to take a step back and think about the
phrases
proof
on
in
the
the case,
bullets
some
really,
of the
I think,
writings. I'm not going to get into too much of that, but in the actual reaction.
In that analysis.
In the middle of Midtown, the beginning of a busy day, tourists, commuters, business people, the intent was to sow terror.
And if I could just on Mr. Thompson's family, sadly, as you say, not a lot of focus has been given to Mr. Thompson or his family. I'm wondering if the services folks, or any of the folks in your office, have been talking to them of what that's been like. If there's anything you can say about that.
I'm not going to talk about communications with the family other than to say that we have a robust survivor services staff here that is second to none. But I would not talk about communications with any family. I don't think it'd be appropriate. But I appreciate your concern.
Well, it's just because, like you're saying, there's been so much focus on the suspect. It's quite different.
I echo what the commissioner said, and the sentiment of your question, my heart goes out to it. This is a significant piece of what we do here, is we center the trauma of survivors and victims and their families. A significant piece of what I do is sit across the table and look people in the eye, and when appropriate, if they want to, offer a hug. And we have dedicated advocates and counselors and great staff that focuses on that. So I agree completely with you. And I wish that that's where the public's focus was exclusively. That's where it should be. That's where it is here, in addition to obviously the facts and the law and the case. But because of respect for where your question's coming from, I'm not going to get into communications.
Given the celebration of Pride, I'm wondering again what he is.
How did you identify him with that face? Look at
that. Yes, absolutely. And we've seen a real increase, sustained increase since December 4th in concern, not just from CEOs, but from corporations broadly. And so going back to the DA's point, the intent to intimidate or coerce a civilian population, which is, of course, at the root of our state terrorism statute, is very much borne out in this reaction. And for good reason. We've had a torrent of online threats. We've had real-world activity that the police commissioner flagged, which is abhorrent, and it causes concern. So we have done a lot to work with corporate security partners with whom we partner on a daily basis in this city, at the city level, at the state level, trying to make sure that everybody has the best practices that they need, that they know where to flag not just general ambient concerns, but specific threats that they might be receiving. that a few weeks ago they might have written off as just noise in the online environment, that they now take seriously. So these are ongoing conversations that we have, and thanks to all the work that we do together every day, we're quite confident that concerns and threats are going to be appropriately directed our way.
We're going to take two more. Dear Greg, can you describe just how rare it is for your office to be charged with first-degree murder? There has been some talk about how violent certain very specific cases in the
First degree is rare, right?
Also, you can speak to the statements made on the record by the suspect that inform this timeline in particular, because maybe this is incriminating more statements that happen.
So I'll address the first piece. The first degree murder statute has a number of subsections. They're sort of clearly delineated, and they are reserved for, the most abhorrent conduct, killing a police officer, serial killing, and the terrorism is one subsection of that. And so I would say, fortunately, that's not happening a lot. Taking a step back, I can't think of another office that is more equipped to handle a terrorism charge. We have a great terrorism unit. We were at the forefront of getting the statute passed. Within the last 2 years, we've tried 2 very significant terrorism cases, one involving an English-speaking operative based in Jamaica, and another involving someone who was here and funding overseas terrorism by cryptocurrency. So we have the expertise, and as I mentioned, the expertise on this team, and so we're prepared to go forward. Yeah, I'm not going to go beyond what's in the filing.
All right, last question, Laura. Hey, Greg, are you able to say now, I will fill states, but that you will be seeking the announcement of the sentence
So as a matter of practice, I don't talk about sentencing outside of court as a first matter, and certainly not at the initial stages of a
Will
matter.
you be
But,
asking for life?
I think you can
it's
tell
probably
the
question.
seriousness with which we take this matter by the way in which it's charged. The murder in the second degree actually has a mandatory life without parole sentence, no discretion for the judge at all. So that's the maximum there. But I'm not going to go beyond that. We will first get the defendant to New York. We will have him arraigned. We will go before our judge. We will engage in pretrial litigation. If there's a trial, we're ably equipped to do that. And then we will proceed to sentencing, at which point we'll make our arguments in court. Thank you all so much.
All right, so no more questions from Alvin. And I think
I was taking your book.
part of the interesting dynamic here is whether or not they'll be able to get a conviction on that terrorism charge. Because if he loses the terrorism charge, right, maybe the people on the jury say, well, he's a murderer, but I wasn't terrorized by this. And so it's not terrorism. And so what if he gets acquitted on that? But in other words, a split verdict would be very interesting. And Alvin is moving forward. Now, I mentioned before about this little unibrow situation, and we saw some pretty close contact on the eyebrows here, and that didn't look like they were all connected up there. Right. And yeah, we got some interesting things going on there. So we'll keep our eye on it. But as you can see, people on the left, a lot of people love this dude. They're dumping a ton of money into his commissary account. 53 letters in the mail. He's got demented fans, 158 cash deposits into his prison commissary. They love him.
Pennsylvania. Per a spokesperson for the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections, as of this afternoon, Mangione has received 158 deposits into his prison commissary account. Also, as of this afternoon, he's received 40 emails and 53 pieces of mail. That's notable because that's up considerably from the 6 pieces of mail that he had received, as we reported yesterday.
All right, people, now dumping money and love and energy into the guy. We'll be here continuing to cover it. He's going to be defending himself against all those charges. And so the indictment has now been filed. We'll keep our eye on this case, my friends. Thanks for subscribing and joining us as we do. All right, my friends. Well, if you're just joining us, we covered some good ground. As you know, we are here at AmFest. This is our booth for the next 4 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're going to be here Bunch of people setting up right now. You can see this is the scene. And we've got a pretty good spot because right over here, you can see we're going to be having, this is like the Veterans Center. And of course, every time I move this camera, it dies. But it's like there's a Veterans Memorial here. And so we'll do a walk and talk. We'll grab the camera and we'll go around. But we're going to be here, my friends. If you're going to be joining us, come join us at watcherlodge.com. Or if you're interested, we got some people in the chat over there, watcherlodge.com. And you can grab the show notes and the PDFs there at watcherlodge.com. That is the web address right there. But now, my friends, it's time to hear from you. If you're just joining us, quick recap on the things we talked about. Trump is not happy with the spending plan. Mike Johnson is going to be reconsidering whether or not they'll move forward with that, or they'll have a clean CR that they'll present to the rest of Congress the rest of this week. And we listened to the House Republicans talk about, and the Senate Republicans talk about what their plan is for the next 100 days. A lot of it having to do with immigration. And we know the last time the Republicans came out with an immigration bill, it was a disaster. So we'll see if they try that again. We also talked about Liz Cheney, who went nuclear after Trump and others have hinted that she should be in jail, because she should, for obstructing justice and for suborning perjury, which is just the beginning. I'm sure there's much more criminality there once a lot of that stuff becomes unsealed and unclassified. When Kash Patel, with the stroke of a pen, releases it all for us, I'm sure there will be more there. We also then talked about Luigi Mangione and the new indictment out of New York, 11 counts, terrorism, first-degree murder. Weren't really expecting that one, but it's here. He's got a defense attorney. Leftists are still in love with this guy, but we'll see if he's the actual shooter, because there's a lot of questions about it. Feels like it's a weird case, and more will be revealed on that. But now, my friends, it's time to hear from you. And thank you for subscribing. Thanks for joining our channel. Thanks for becoming a member. We love our membos, and we appreciate your support here. Let's see who is joining us over on, and I did want to pay a special shout out to Legal Vices. And we had a great dono. You saw I flashed it up earlier on the screen. Legal Vices, who has passed away, has now crossed 100,000 subscribers. So mission accomplished, my friends. 101,000 subscribers. And we want to keep those numbers going. Bump those numbers up, because sometimes YouTube removes them from you. So bump those numbers up. I'm subscribed over to his channel. You can subscribe to his channel in memoriam of amazing content and an amazing life lived. Our friend Legal Vices, give him a subscribe over at the channel. And I linked that in the chat before, but we'll drop that in the chat once again. So if you'd like to go and support him, there you go. Yeah, good man. Fun dude. I'm really sorry to hear that he passed. Really a sad story. So, all right, my friends, now let's see who is here and joining us. We got some great comments and some good friends that came in. It's Wednesday. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Middle of the week, all downhill from here. And we got, oh man, that's a big pallet of something. What is that? That looks good. Don't know what that is. Shout out to our forklift guys. Hey, what's up? Glenn Ragsdale became a supporter. Welcome, Glenn. Glad to have you as a new supporter. Just Don says, hey, y'all. Thanks to all who subbed to Legal Vices today. His channel hit and exceeded 100K today. 100K today. Knox Bierman says, happy Wednesday, all. What a lineup. A great opportunity to speak to so many peeps, Rob. I know, man. I'm excited about it. I'm excited. Knox says, hey, Knox, I love the backdrop. It's looking great. Thank you, Knox. Yeah, and guess what else is live today, my friends? The new website reveal. So our friends at personalbrand.com, who are helping us with all this stuff, have now launched the new website. So we were racing to get things done before this event. And so check it out. Go to robertgovea.com. Check out the new website. New headshots, new photos. I'm looking at it right now. And you can try the Rob bot. So it's all available. This is the new website. So check it out, robertgovea.com. New logo, new format, and some good stuff happening over there, all being revealed today for AmFest. It's an AmFest amazing exclusive. All right, so you can also check out the Rob bot now. Check this out, introducing the Rob bot AI. Go do a video call with the Rob bot. and check it out. Go to robertgovea.com, check it out. Join us on the lodge, watchyourlodge.com as well. Bunch of new stuff. So check it out. Thank you, Knox, for plugging it for us. Some fun stuff there. All right. So, hey, B Torn. What's up, B Torn? Also became a supporter. Welcome aboard, B Torn. In the house. We got Glocky says, makes sense why the House would want to sneak this through now that everyone knows the J6 sham committee broke the laws. The continuing resolution prevents Trump's DOJ from investigating Congress? What? Mew says, deep inside, the CR included a provision that allows the House to quash any subpoena for emails, comms, and documents made by law enforcement, making investigations impossible. That's insane. So shout out to Amuse for finding that and digging that out, man. I did not see that. They're so terrible, man. It's total scum. All right. Sergeant GPS says, hey, have a great time at AmFest. I just wanted to put our incoming Senator John Curtis, who is replacing Romney, on blast after he posted this on X yesterday. The weasel couldn't even fake a smile after meeting with Pete. He isn't going to represent the voters of Utah or his country. His face says it all. Look at that guy. Yeah, you're right. He does. He doesn't look like he's even happy to be there. I appreciated the opportunity to meet with Hegseth, nominee for SecDef, and discuss the vision. As the Senate confirmation process continues, I will be closely monitoring his nomination. John Curtis is a senator there from Utah. I've never heard of him. I will be closely monitoring this. I remain committed to the Senate's vital role in thoroughly ensuring and evaluating nominees and ensuring that Utahns' voices are represented throughout this process. We have a shared vision of having the world's most innovative, effective, and respected military. All right. Good to see you. Hey, Lenny, what's up? Says, please smash the like button. Please like, share, and subscribe. Share on all social media platforms. God bless you all. God bless you all. Chetty Mo says, why didn't Rob know this? I don't know. I don't know everything. I have to learn some things. So thanks for educating me. B.H. Williams says, isn't it as much about the money as it is about the bad policy being put into the statute? Yeah, I think that's true. But the bad policy is just a justification to get the money. It's like you're just like digging holes in the ground and then filling them up. You're like, I just need to dig a hole and I need money to dig a hole. Well, you're like, well, should you dig a hole right there in the middle of the street? They're like, no, but I need money to dig a hole and I got to dig a hole somewhere. So give me money to dig a hole. So like the policy's bad. They just get the money. It's all bad. It's all a grift. And they keep saying we need more money and more policy to continue the grift. Let's go, Brandon, in the house. As one of the YouTube law community streamers passed away this week. And man, they are bumping out there. I don't know if you can feel that bass through the microphone, but it's bumping out there. There's an effort to get his sub count comfortably above 100K, as it was a goal of his and would help his son out with expenses. His name is Legal Vices. If you care to go, hit the button and help it out. Amen. So good stuff there. Thank you, Let's Go Brandon, for first of all, the very nice donor to our channel, and for shouting out Legal Vices for making a contribution in honor of someone else. We appreciate that. Saying a lot of people supporting it. Yeah, hit 100K. I'm in. Lawrex. Jeff deserves the best, even in the afterlife, especially in the afterlife. It hit 100K. Amazing. So, my friends, those of you who subscribe, thanks for doing it. It is a good effort, and it's been accomplished. So, well done. Brandon, let's go, Brandon. Thank you for that. Really, really nice. Q Revere says, hearing Senator Graham and the mandate makes me uneasy. Yeah, anytime Lindsey Graham's name comes into the conversation, it's not good. Glocky says, Rob, if you don't buy this game and live stream playing it, you're going to let us all down. Donald Trump is releasing a mobile golf game with personal commentary. Oh my gosh, I think you're right. We do have to play. I don't even like golf, but I guess we'll look at it. Hey, Trump is releasing a new mobile golf game, proving he's still exercising his inner businessman. Uncle Bosie's here. Says, I wish they would not pass any spending bill and shut the government down until January 20th and let the new Congress and Trump straighten this mess out. There is no justification for passing a spending bill at this time. None. This is just the ruling class getting what they can before Trump returns. Crash says, Rob, I'm 77 years old, and I remember when the border was a problem long before your 39 years. The answer is simple. Grow a set. They have a guy running the show who appears to have a set. Turn them loose. Ignore the noise coming from Congress and do what we, the people, voted for and are now demanding from Crash. Yeah, the law, it's already illegal to be an illegal. We don't need to pass new laws to make it illegaler. It's done. Tater's gonna Tate. What's up, Richard? Tatership in the house. Bringing in Mama Rowe. Miss Selly is here. Jennifer O'Conley. What's up, X? The Mirror Man is here. We got Celsify. West Coven a Dodge. Chuck Reardon. We got Devin Wargo and Roberto Ortiz gifting membos in the house. And we're glad to have our friend Richard Tatership. Tater's gonna Tate. Uncle Bozy says they can wait until January 20th to reset spending, okay? Why now? They can pass a bill a month from now. Besides, if they do shut the government down, only 1% of federal employees are showing up for work anyways, okay? They can wait a month, and then they can figure out whether they're coming back later or not. Thank you for that one from Uncle Bozy. Spuds is here. Says, shut it down, okay? Everyone's on vacation anyway, so who cares? Spuds, foundation of the Irish diet. Spuds in the house. Hey, thank you, Spuds. Laura Chamberlain got gifted a memo. Littering and is here. Running free. What's up, Sean Quinn? Saintly Beginnings in the house. Great to have all of our friends joining us. Lady Ice says, in the 7 years I worked at USDA, I think they actually passed a budget once. The rest were all CRs, and it used to be a temporary extension of the budget set at the previous year's funding levels. But when COVID happened, and all of the funding increased for that, they never went back to pre-COVID levels. No, you never let a crisis go to waste. They keep doing CRs based on COVID levels, and for furloughs, it's a bunch of BS too. All the social programs like Social Security are paid, and government workers get paid vacay, basically. Hey, Zozie, first super chat on a live stream. First time's the hardest, gets easier from there. Thank you, Zozie. Ray Ronk, I used to operate a forklift, man. I volunteer. I've never operated a forklift, and I really want to. Or even a, which is crazy because even a bobcat, I've never done a bobcat, which is nuts because I used to build swimming pools. But I have operated a ditch witch, and that's kind of about it. A ditch witch, a backhoe, never operated one. I want to do one though. It'd be fun. And I think they have those like adult playgrounds where you can go to those adult playgrounds and just play around with heavy machinery. Sounds awesome. Knox, Trump needs to do a Malay who just had the first excess in Argentina history. Afuera. Yeah, we love that, man. Afuera. Get out. Hey, David Schweikert is my favorite from Arizona, says Rachel. Yeah, he's pretty solid. He's been around for a long time. Pretty solid. Tony Hey Munkets. Hey, it's the Munkets. We got the virtual glue effect. Got a membo. The virtual glue effect. That's interesting. Edward Baxa. 2 diamonds in the rough. We got Jana Queen and Miss M Rocket Softball. MSM Rocket Softball in the house. Gifted membos courtesy of Tony Hay. Thank you, Tony Hay, and welcome, new friends. Sharpie Guy, what's up, Sharpie Guy? Says, Rob, I've been self-employed for March, 62 years. Up to 20 employees in the 90s. It's a lot. Yeah, our firm had about 20, I think we got to like 26 at one point in the 90s. A time comes when the bank won't cover your payroll, and that's the day I came to terms with being a big bag of wind, big shot, no more. Extremely humbling, and America is on the cusp of that same thing for us. And then today I saw Mike Johnson dancing like nobody is watching with his Democrat colleagues. I was thinking back while watching like him, America to me, MAGA is the bank now. Call him up and remind him. Yeah, it's like read the room there, Mike. Read the room. Lots going to be changing here in like 30 days. So how about no? We just won and we have a mandate. So let's go. Hey, Crash says Bragg is sounding like he's already gotten his conviction. I'd save the applause. I'd call 911 if I were Bragg. He surely must have broken his own arm, patting himself in the back. Thank you, Crash, for the dono. Spud says Tish just got a high-profile ghost gun to exploit. Yeah, maybe they'll sue him for that. Thank you, Lady Ice. Says, waiting for them to link this to MAGA. The shooter? Yeah, I mean, that could be interesting. They've pretty well parsed through his social media posts. I think they got a pretty good idea of the guy. Ravika says, prepare for 4 years of this. This is what Democrats do, okay? Whenever Republicans are in power, when we start seeing more of this, watch for the rise in red flag laws being pushed to get passed. Yeah, and like maybe internet censorship or something. Like if the Democrats were still in charge, you might say, oh, well, now you can't talk bad about healthcare CEOs, okay? Because it's dangerous. They might get shot in the back. So now you can't talk about jabs or anything because it's too dangerous for them. Sheila Pooh says, Alvin is overcharging him again to boost his campaign. This crime is no different than the thousands of other violent attacks that they don't prosecute. Yeah, how many other people are shot in the back in New York that just bleed out on the streets that they don't even investigate at all? And he's taking a high-profile case, charging him with the maximum amount that he can in order to get the maximum political benefit. It's Alvin Bragg. Sheila Pooh, good to see you. Great comment. Knox says, the Luigi deal is looking more and more orchestrated. Bragg is using all the other CEOs' expressions of fear and the taking of their headshots off their website down. Funny how that fits right in with the terrorism enhancement. Yeah, what is the line, Knox? And Knox is a defense attorney in Texas. And says, Bragg also deserves a change of venue. That's also funny. Think he'd file for that to get out of his own jurisdiction? Because he's like, oh crap, all these blue New Yorkers probably love that this guy got shot. They might be a bad jury for him. So Bragg with the change of venue. It's an interesting concept there, Knox. When does something become terroristic? Because, I mean, under Alvin Bragg's standards, they probably could have charged every J6er with terrorism, right? And they probably thought about it. But where is that line? Like, where is the line? Like, sure, shooting somebody in the back multiple times and killing them in the middle of a street, that's terrorizing to anybody who saw that. But is that terrorism? Or do we save that for a different category, right? How do you disambiguate between the two? When it's cold to shoot somebody in the back is pretty terroristic. Causes terror to the people who see it. So does that count? All right, Knox, great comments. Tony Hay says, honestly, I will admit if this killer of the CEO lost a kid because his insurance wasn't paid for or a family member, I might have some understanding, but this guy is just a punk and he took away a father from his kids. Yeah, I see what you're saying, Tony Haymuck. It's like you might understand if it's a crime of passion, like if this guy got denied or his kid got denied or his mom got denied and he just got mad, like my mom just died last night, right? And now I'm going to go out and just exact revenge on that. But I don't think any of that happened at all. Yes, there were some surgery problems, but the guy came from a very wealthy family, had tons of money, probably could get any surgery anywhere he wanted at any time. And so that is not there, right? It's actually premeditated. It's not like a crime of passion. Glocky says, I want to see the grand jury investigation documents. And Amuse, another great account to follow on X and a good dude, says, cover up. Why didn't the DOJ bother to tell us that after a 3-year FBI investigation, a grand jury determined that Schiff and Swalwell leaked classified documents to the press? Why didn't they prosecute the leakers? The DOJ IG is asking the same questions. Man, that's great stuff from Amuse. Voice of the People says, make sure you scream a big, beautiful spotlight, baby. Oh, we're going to belt it out right here. I don't even care. Hey, CF Rob says, Trump nominating Robert Gouveia as special counsel to investigate Liz Cheney. Hope the Senate confirms. I'm in, man. I'm in. I just need, for January 6th, I just need 5 minutes at the DOJ on the January 6th floor. That's all we need. And we'll take it. We'll take it there. We got it covered. Sharpie Guy says, we're MAGA. We're in charge now. Never, ever let up, y'all. We're not, baby. Good to see you, Sharpie Guy. Thanks for that. Sheila Pooh says, make a lot of noise, folks. Tell TOR reps and senators, if they sign that CSR, they will be booted when they come up for re-election. Sheila Pooh in the House. Yeah, now's the time. If you're going to be reaching out to your senators, now's the time to do it. Sharpie Guy says, owed you some slot machine memos, Rob. Check out YouTube. Slot machine memos. Check out YouTube. I have not seen that. Thank you, Sharpie Guy. Knox says, not sure if you've covered this one. I don't think so. Thousands of government employees land a deal to continue telework with the Biden administration, says a report. The contract will allow workers to stay hybrid until 2029. Until 2029. Can you believe that? You can just work from home forever. Man, I hope Trump finds a way out of that. Hey, Chetty Mo, I just thought that you would have known that, Rob. Chetty Mo was calling me out in the chat and I saw it. I didn't know it. I know I'm an idiot. I didn't know it. It's too dumb, I guess. I should read more books. Maybe I would have known it. Thank you, Chetty Mo. Good to see you, man. Thanks for calling me back out with the super chat. I appreciate it. Hey, Sharp Dressed Man. Good to see you. And man, that's spinning those guitars. Sharpening Man in Texas is bringing in 5 new members. What's up, Sharpening Man? Eden Heidick is here. Eden. All right, I got to be careful there. Melissa Morgan. What's up, Brian Reinhardt? Steffi is here, and Broken Prophet in the house. Gifted members courtesy of Sharpening Man in Texas. We got B.H. Williams. Oh my gosh. B.H. Williams says, Hakeem Jeffries is accusing Republicans of breaking the bipartisan agreement to pass the CR, and now Republicans own a government shutdown. Okay, they're going to blame Republicans no matter what. Who cares? Shut it down. Like, that's fine. We'll own it. That's great. Trump won. We don't want to do things as usual anymore. Just shut it down. That's great. I'm down with it. Hey, Blue Sky. Blue Sky. Look at this dono, man. That is so generous, Blue Sky. Extremely nice of you to send that in. Thank you so much. I don't even know what to say. Merry Christmas, Rob and family. Blue Sky, thanks for this. That money will go to good use. We're here, and you're helping to support us being here. So really thank you for that. This was a little bit of an expensive, the Ethernet here was a little expensive here, but so thank you for funding it. It's going to go to good use. Merry Christmas to you, Blue Sky. Merry Christmas to everybody else out there. Glenn Croy saying Merry Christmas to you. Sketch, Shane, Steve, Spuds, Just Me, Eric. Merry Christmas to you, Blue Sky. Really glad to have you as a member. Thank you so much for that very generous dono. We're putting it to good use, making America great again together. Thank you, Blue Sky. Really nice of you to send that one in. Tony Hay says, I want to clarify to you that I don't believe in killing under any circumstance, that it's justified, but sometimes it's understandable. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Tony Hay, yeah. And that's why we have a different charge for those other crimes of passion. And he was not charged with that, right? He was charged with the higher crimes. And so I don't think that those circumstances fit, but you also see, I mean, there's, you know, the crimes of passion. You walk in on your wife with somebody or something. It's like, wow, everybody can kind of understand that, right? So you kind of the law accommodates for that. When you're talking about a person's guilty, it really goes to the mens rea, the mindset of the person. Was it premeditated? Was it intentional? Or was this something that just emerged spontaneously because of what you saw? You were put into a heightened state. The law actually does distinguish between those types of murder. And so it's a great point. I'm glad you brought it up. Rick D, what's up, Rick D? Says, Elon has a new city. Bet he needs a good city attorney. Yeah, I mean, that sounds like it sounds like a lot of work. You know, being a city attorney is a lot of work. The only reason I want to go and be in charge of the January 6th division of the DOJ is because I can solve that in like 5 minutes. It'd take about 2 weeks, but it wouldn't take a lot of work. I've got a plan for it, and I think I could solve it relatively quickly. You just set it up so that they're prosecuting themselves, you understand? And I have a thesis on how to do that. So, but I have to be appointed before I can reveal all this. You know, it's kind of one of those things. You have to appoint me before I can tell you what's in the bill. But that's the idea. Yeah. So Trump can delete the agency with the stroke of a pen. No more working at home. Yeah. How about that? You're just fired now. The agency is done. You're fired. And we'll pay out some contract terms or whatever. Like if we got to pay you out to breach your contract, to break your contract, that's fine, but you're done. Ravicus. And the fact that now, this is where we should start. Okay, everybody who got that contract should be at the top of the list. Like whatever Joe Biden's doing to sell the walls or to enable the wars, to make stuff that we can't come back from, that should be at the top of the list. You just got elevated. Hey, Ravicus says, Trump can delete the agency with the stroke of a pen. BH says, Rob, I'm with you, but not passing the CR also means we need to be generous to the people helping victims of Helene and Milton. There are about 1,000 children living in tents there in the winter with North Carolina and Western North Carolina and Eastern Tennessee. BH, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, I think that's right. But, you know, our government is so sick that they just attach that. Okay, just fund them. Just fund them. Just pass a bill for $20 million and fund the 1,000 children in the tents. But they don't. They said we have to do that. And in order to spend $20 million to save the 1,000 children, we need to spend $1 trillion so that you can get the 20 million for the kids. So just take care of the kids. Leave out all of your Ukraine and your other money, or in this case, the global engagement services money. We don't want to pay for that crap anymore. And so, great comments, my friends. Thank you for the very generous donos. And Blue Sky, really thank you for sending in that monster one. And we also had another monster one today. Extremely generous, guys. Thank you for those. We said another one from Let's Go Brandon in honor of Jeff and Legal Vices. And so, man, really, really nice to have everybody here today. Thank you so much for sending those in. Let's say hello to our friends on X and see what's happening over there. Then we're going to wrap it up and go over to locals for our members only after party. Yeah, B. Torrance says buried, page 259. Shout out to Amuse, man. But Torrance says a republic doesn't have to include the conception of democracy. In its electoral process, it could define the process, absurdly as it may be, as a coin flip, a foot race, or putting names in a hat after a fight to the death between candidates from each party to win the office. From B. Torn over there. And TJ King, what's up, TJ King, says, when Dems say louder milk referral is bogus and Cheney deserves a pardon to avoid the charges, Trump's response should be, as a former POTUS, I was repeatedly hit with frivolous indictments. I faced all charges and appeared in court. I never pardoned myself, and Liz should face the same. Interesting take there, right? Yeah, Trump says I could have pardoned myself on the way out. I didn't. How come? You guys abused the hell out of me for 4 years. I could have withstood it. And he's won on almost all of them. And the cases are continuing. And he will win those too. Okay, and so, my friends, that is where we are going to leave it on the day. It has been a heck of a stream. We're coming back tomorrow. And I don't have a good time yet for tomorrow on when we're going to be live. So make sure you're subscribed. I think we might come over, do a morning session, take a lunch break, and then do an afternoon session. Maybe we'll do that. We'll see. All right, so, or we might just do a long afternoon session. Probably that. I got to think about it. So thanks for subscribing. Thanks for hitting the like button. Thanks for inviting someone you know or love to come over and join us. Head on over to watcherlodge.com to join the AmFest chat. And if you're going to be here at AmFest, that's where you'll connect with us. So make sure you join in on that. Watcherlodge.com, watcherlodge.com. You see the link is right there. It's free. You get PDFs, you get show notes. Pamela is posting everything rapidly. And so we're excited for that. Also, check out the new website, robertgovea.com. Let me know what you think. We got our new logo there. We've got the new Rob bot that you can test out. The Rob bot's a lot of fun. Ask it questions about the show. Ask it questions about our PDFs and all sorts of things. And so it has been a heck of a stream. Locals, hang tight. We're coming over there to debrief in just a quick minute or two. My friends, I want to thank you for being here. Thanks for the very generous donos and for the fun comments. We'll be back here tomorrow. It's going to be busy. A lot of people here and a lot of stuff to cover. I'm sure it's going to be a busy day. And so we're going to be back here tomorrow to get into it again. And in order to do that appropriately, we're going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Locals, hang tight. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.